Hello there. I'm glad you found this quiet corner. Let the room dim, the blankets grow a little heavier, and your breath settle into an easy tide. Tonight, we'll trace a simple idea that lights every porch and heartbeat. Energy, nature's currency. It hums in the glow of a bedside lamp, in the rise and fall of your chest, in the slow turning of weather and seasons. While you rest, your body is a careful accountant, saving and spending tiny sparks to mend tissue, tidy memories, and keep the night watch. We won't rush the math. We'll move gently from the warmth of a mug in your hands to the glow in a firefly's lantern, to the quiet engines inside each cell, listening for the soft rules that guide how energy flows, changes shape, and comes home again. If this calm keeps you company, a light tap on like and a soft subscribe help this little haven reach other sleepless travelers only when it feels right. For now, breathe slow. Let your shoulders drop and your thoughts drift like pollen in evening light. Close your eyes. The ledger is patient. We'll begin together, unhurried and warm. Think of energy without the classroom glare or the rattle of a power bill. Think of it as the soft current moving through everything you can name and everything you can't. It doesn't sit still, and it doesn't pose for pictures. It passes from hand to hand, the way a secret travels between close friends, quietly, faithfully, changing the shape of the room without asking permission. When people call it the universe's one true currency, they aren't being poetic for show. They are pointing to the way reality pays for change. Money is easy to picture. Coins in a pocket, a transfer between accounts, a loaf of bread bought and eaten. Energy behaves with a similar simplicity, dressed in different clothes. It can sparkle as light, glow as warmth, push as motion, or wait patiently as a stored promise in a chemical bond. It is lent, saved, spent, and sometimes scattered. It pays for the lift of an eyelid, the swing of a door, the widening ring when a pebble kisses a lake. You never see the coin itself. You watch the world it buys. If you prefer a single sentence, scientists offer one. Energy is the ability to do work. It sounds tidy, almost plain, yet in that small phrase lives a large freedom. Work here is not a job description. It is the gentle rearrangement of the real. A stone leaves the earth for a moment and then returns. A bow is drawn and lets go. An electron takes a guided step along a wire and lights a room. Each action is the world agreeing to be reshaped, and energy is the price paid for the agreement. The price never vanishes. It changes currency, that's all. Light becomes heat. Motion settles into warmth. A tight spring relaxes and hands its effort to the air. In your body, the same trade plays 1,000 times each second. Sugars loosen, bonds shift. Tiny machines in your cells catch the release and turn it into breath, heartbeat, thought. A small 3-letter coin, ATP, circulates with astonishing speed, buying motions that add up to a life. It is old wealth in new hands. Sunlight turned to harvest, harvest turned to you. Once you begin to look this way, familiar scenes grow luminous. Bread is a slice cut from a summer afternoon. A lamp's glow is the memory of ancient forests or captured winds. The warmth in a room on a stormy night is weather translated into comfort. Even the hush between heartbeats holds a quiet bustle, charges drifting, gradients relaxing, the careful balancing act that keeps you whole. And always, the accounting rule repeats with a kindness that feels like law. No new energy conjured from emptiness. No old energy lost to nowhere. Only exchanges that leave the tally true. The universality of it is almost shy. Energy hides in the obvious, the bright stripe of sunlight across a floor, and in the quiet, the slow cooling of a cup left alone. It strides with volcanoes and tiptoes with moths. It sculpts coasts grain by grain and sets a violin string trembling. Stars are its vast mints, stamping fusion-warmed coins by the trillions, while deep space holds the ledger's other page, thin and chilly, waiting to receive what dissipates. Whether you watch waves or watch a candle, you are watching a conversion. Nothing in this economy keeps still forever. A rock heats in the day and gives back to the evening. A wound knits and then calms. A battery extends its patience and then, by and by, relents. Even perfect-seeming stores find their pathways outward. This insistence on movement makes energy feel less like a substance and more like a conversation matter, answering motion, order answering chance, warmth answering cold. The voices trade sentences, wander into hush, and start again. What moves through you tonight is ancient. The sugars that steady you are made of carbon and oxygen, pieces forged in stars that bloomed and fell long before any person traced a story in the sand. Sunlight took 8 unhurried minutes to reach a field, met chlorophyll, and settled into starch. Months later, you lifted a fork, and that captured daylight entered your keeping. It became memory, muscle, kindness. In this way, the past keeps its promises. You are a place where old light learns new steps. For all its tenderness, energy resists easy capture by words. You can measure it, count it, store it, and still it slips past the net of definitions. Call it a capacity, a relationship, a promise. The phrases circle a truth that prefers to be felt in effects rather than grabbed in itself. To say ability to do work is correct, the way saying a melody is a sequence of frequencies is correct. The description holds, and still the lived thing glows beyond it. When you notice the glow, the world steadies. Tides move in their old rhythm because the moon's pull and Earth's waters keep trading favors. Planets curve around a star because motion and gravity find a balance that suits them both. Fireflies script quick commas in the dark by paying tiny sums from chemical stores. Lightning cracks open a cloud and writes heat across the sky in a bright signature. None of it asks permission. None of it holds a grudge. Energy does what it does, moves, shifts, sustains. There is comfort in thinking of it as a pulse, a quiet, patient thrum that underlies sound and silence alike. You can put your hand on your chest and feel a private version. You can step into winter sunlight and feel the public one. The thread runs through both without losing itself, weaving what is small and what is vast into one fabric. Even stillness is threaded with it, the room at rest, the mind settling, the body finding its most economical way to be alive. Long before numbers and instruments, people were students of this pulse. They watched flame and learned its temper. They learned that breath returns and returns again, that warmth can be invited, that light can be coaxed. They didn't call it energy, they called it blessing, life, spirit. Words were chosen for reverence, because whatever this was, it seemed to arrive with generosity and leave when neglected. Picture a first fire kept through a wind-stung night. A small flame turned a circle of fear into a circle of calm. Meat softened, water steamed, Shadows kept their distance. Fire behaved like a living thing, both companion and taskmaster. Feed it or lose it, guard it or grieve it. No surprise that people gave it a face and a name, that stories spoke of a bold gift stolen from stern heavens. Without it, days were short and teeth were near. Then consider the sun, a golden clock that did not lose a beat. No one needed a formula to know it was the keeper of plenty. Seeds woke under it. Fruit grew heavy. Animals sought its warmth. Years were counted by its leanings. Stones were placed to mirror its path. Temples and towers joined in its choreography, a slow dance of shadows that turned into calendars and comfort. The devotion made sense. Later ages called the sun a furnace. Earlier ages called it a god. The gratitude was the same. Across distances, people noticed a softer current as well. The breath that enters, the breath that leaves, the feeling that life is carried on a wind you cannot see. Different lands gave it different names: Numa, Prana, Chi, but the intuition rhymed. Stop the breath, and the light dims. Ease it, and a person returns to themselves. The body seemed to be a house with small rivers flowing through, and health was the smoothness of that flow. Myths took up the task of explanation when instruments were still dreams. A skyboat ferried the sun. A mountain kept a secret fire. A world began in a meeting of heat and cold so dramatic it shaped the first morning. Offerings were made so the balance would hold. The bargain was simple: keep the currents moving, keep the lights on, keep the season's wheel turning. In a way, this was early accounting, spirited but sincere. If warmth feeds us, then warmth must be honored. If light grows our food, then light deserves thanks. Stone answered story. Circles in fields caught solstice dawns like a cup catches rain. Pyramids pinned shadows so neatly to the year that time itself felt visible. Doorways were cut to frame a sunrise on the one morning it mattered most, and for an instant, the world and the wall agreed perfectly. Watching that bright blade reach an inner floor must have felt like proof that the universe could be known, that its habits were not capricious but kind. What those early hands built, they built from noticing cycles. Heat and hush trading places, dark and light making a braid, breath filling and emptying without complaint. Too much flame brought ruin. Too little left a family cold. Too much noon burned a field. Too little stole it. Balance wasn't a slogan. It was daily bread. Without a formal law of conservation, people learned the same lesson in rough relief. What goes out must come from somewhere, and what comes in must be tended. Language still keeps their memory. We say we're charged up or running low, on fire or out of steam, bright-eyed or burned out. The metaphors may be modern, but the heart of them is old. Sunlight truly does write itself into leaves. Breath truly does deliver what cells need to release the energy tucked inside food. The cooking that happens in a pan and the burning that happens in a cell are cousins, both controlled, both life-serving. The robes have changed, the meaning has not. It is easy to smile at thunder gods throwing spears of light, yet behind the theater was earnest study. People gave the nameless a story so they could live side by side with it. They felt the world's heartbeat and wanted it to have a face. That instinct, for all its costume, is not so different from writing an equation on a board. Both are ways of saying, here is the force that matters. Let us treat it with care. Whether you greet it with a hymn or a diagram, Energy keeps acting like the same steadfast friend. It warms a room and a relationship. It carries a harvest and a conversation. It fuels cells and cities. We can name units and write careful balances. We can also light a candle at dusk and sit without naming anything at all. Both experiences belong to the same river. The comfort that settles in the body when this becomes clear is genuine. You do not own energy. You borrow it. You pass it along as heat, as movement, as words, as a touch on a shoulder. At the scale of a life, the borrowing feels like a gift. At the scale of a star, it feels like a law, written in patient hand, and across both scales, the same coin spins freely. Consider an apple resting on a table, innocent as an ornament. It is a vault full of afternoon. Leaves held out their hands, caught sunlight, braided carbon and water into sweetness, and wrapped it in color. You take a bite and begin a quiet translation. What was sky becomes you. The trade is so ordinary we forget it is astonishing. Bite after bite, breath after breath, the flow continues. The same flow rearranges homes and cities. A kettle lifts into a whistle. A bus leans into a hill. A street lamp makes a small halo where moths write their brief poems. At larger scales, rivers become power. Wind becomes stored patience. Fuels become journeys. For everything we ask the world to do, we put down the same tender coin. Sometimes we spend wisely, sometimes wastefully. The economy continues, and the world keeps the receipts. Because this currency is stubbornly honest, it teaches manners. Push one place, and something else must yield. Store too tightly, and you invite leaks in another corner. Perfect efficiency is a story we tell ourselves on hopeful days. Reality offers losses that warm our palms and rooms and invites us to think in terms of grace rather than perfection. The point is not to hoard but to guide, not to demand but to listen. Place your attention where the hum is softest inside a cell. Tiny turbines turn in membranes, catching a difference in charges as if catching wind in a sail. They spin and build ATP, coin after coin, and then those coins are spent on repair, on transport, on the timely closing of a channel. Nothing flashy, nothing wasted. Just a long patience, acting at small scales. It is a style worth copying. Look outward again, and the pattern repeats. A galaxy swirls, not in chaos, but with a measured generosity, the outer stars still moving with vigor because the mass within holds them true. In the froth of a tide pool, sunlight powers algae that power grazers, that power a heron's steady watch. In winter, a tree budgets what it saved, and in spring, it spends with bright abandon. Everywhere, budgets and gifts, limits and plenty. Energy is explanation and companionship at once. It tells us why things move and offers a way to move more kindly. Every effort draws from somewhere. Every rest is not indulgence, but a quiet balancing of accounts. Spend on what matters. Return what you can as warmth instead of noise. Keep the circulation generous. By the time your eyes grow heavy, the whole story can fit in a single breath. Inhale, unlock what you've stored. Exhale, give back what you don't need to the larger room. The trade completes and begins again without fanfare. Morning arrives on the same coin you accepted at night. Coffee passes a small flame to your hands. Muscles purchase motion with yesterday's careful savings, and the sun pays every window with brightness. None of it owes you, none of it withholds. The flow is simply there to join, so the question that lingers is gentle. If the universe keeps its wealth in one currency, what kind of life feels rich? Perhaps richness is measured not by how much you hold, but by how gracefully you guide the flow entrusted to you, how you warm, how you heal, how you light the small circle where you stand, and how quietly you return the rest with thanks. And because grace needs a frame, the flow has house rules. Think of energy as the quiet rule beneath everything that moves, not an endless faucet to twist at will, but a careful economy that follows agreements older than stars. Inside a candle's flame, a sleeping engine, a drifting plankton cell, those terms never bend. Physicists name them the laws of thermodynamics. You can meet them more softly, as the universe's currency code, simple to say, vast in consequence, steady hands, keeping the ledger true. The first rule is comforting, in a way that meets the body where it rests. Nothing is created from nothing, and nothing good is lost forever. Energy only changes its costume. What leaves one pocket slips into another. The tree that stood in a winter field becomes warmth, light, and smoke when the logs catch. The toast from morning becomes the lift in your step, the glow in your skin, the spark that lets a memory settle into place. Even a light bulb at the end of its evening doesn't erase the electricity it used. The room keeps it as a little extra warmth in the air. If there is a cosmic accountant, this is the page they love most. Every transfer recorded, every sum preserved. Imagine the universe as a single ledger, where the only entries are exchanges. A star spends fuel to shine. A planet accepts the light. A leaf tucks part of it away as sweetness. A hand lifts an apple and bites. The total never budges. Patterns change, melodies shift key, yet the number beneath the line stays the same. It was the same long before any eye looked up, and it will be the same long after tonight's fires have cooled. There is a deep peace in that constancy, as if reality promises not to drop anything we handed, only to pass it along. Then comes the second rule, the one that gives time its direction. Energy spreads, concentration softens, useful order wanders outward into gentler, less gatherable forms. A cup of tea left on the table will always drift toward the temperature of the room. It will never heat itself back to comfort. A shelf bumped once becomes a scatter of books, and no breeze will stack them neatly again. Nothing is missing from the world when this happens. It has simply become harder to spend in one place. The warmth has mixed with the air. The tidy stack has become scattered weight, still present but no longer poised. If the first rule says the bank balance never shrinks, the second says the coins tend to break into smaller change and scatter across many pockets. Each piece still counts, yet it takes more work to gather it again. That soft drift entropy isn't a villain. It is the quiet current that lets before and after feel different. An egg can be scrambled, but not unscrambled. Smoke can rise and not return to the candle. Footprints in new snow can be made, and the snow's memory of them outlasts the boot. This is how time chooses a direction without speaking. The two rules stand together like kind parents. The first holds your hand, everything is kept. The second guides your steps, everything spreads. See them both at once in a winter room. Wood holds sunlight from a summer long gone inside its bonds. A match touches the edge, and the stored brightness loosens into flame. Your hands warm, the room glows, conversation softens. Nothing is lost. The sum remains. Yet, as the evening settles, the heat slips outward, room to hallway, hallway to night, night to sky, until the energy is everywhere and nowhere special. The books are balanced. The spending power is spent. Every exchange pays a small fee to entropy. Wheels give a little to friction. Engines share some of their effort as heat. Stars scatter their light across distances so wide the rays will never be gathered again. Bodies radiate into the dark, which is why a blanket feels like kindness. You never get to spend the same coin twice in exactly the same way. The economy is patient and one-directional. That is the cost of doing business in a universe that breathes. Rather than scold, this cost teaches. It reminds us that order is a garden, not a statue. It must be tended, fed by little streams of concentrated energy that arrive, do their work, and then wander on. Life is the art of catching those streams while they're still gathered. A cell captures a gradient and spins it into ATP. A bird eats a berry and turns sunlight into flight. A mind takes a meal and pays for a quiet hour of thought. We keep eating not because energy disappears, but because it drifts, and we need fresh handfuls of focus before they slip into the warm, unspendable background. If you want a picture of generosity at scale, lift your face to daylight. Each morning, whether pressed through cloud or poured freely from a clear sky, the sun invests. It does not keep books with us. It does not withhold. It sends a rain of photons across space, a daily stipend vast beyond our chores and plans. To give a sense of scale without fuss, the Earth receives more sunlight in one calm hour than all of us together use in a full year. Most of that gift slides not into outlets, but into the green work that keeps the planet alive. Plants were the first experts in this economy. With patient chemistry, a leaf takes water from the ground, a breath of carbon from the air, and the light that arrives from the sky, and weaves them into sugar. A little oxygen is opened and set free, a kindness we return in every exhale. That quiet craft photosynthesis is the original mint. It prints spendable energy and tucks it safely in bonds, ready for the world to use without burning. From that moment, the web of life found a way to keep accounts in the black. Follow a single thread. Grass takes the deposit. A grazing animal withdraws. A hunter takes a second withdrawal. When all returns to soil, fungi and bacteria balance the books, loosening what remains into forms roots can read. Every step is sunlight changing hands. A zebra is not simply feeding. It is cashing a check the grass wrote with a star's signature. A lion is not simply fierce. It is living on converted light that passed from blade to muscle in careful stages. Even after the last pulse, the ledger remains generous. The small workers in the soil make sure nothing of value is wasted. Call it an ecosystem if you like, or call it a marketplace of light. Either way, the choreography is the same. Deposits, transfers, balances, all supervised by the same two rules. The efficiency is not perfect. It doesn't need to be. What matters is the flow and the reciprocity. Leaves do not hoard. Predators keep grazers from eating the mint to the root. Decomposers turn leftover coins into seed money. The circle holds. Rainforests show this art with a flourish. Sunlight arrives at the canopy and is invested downward in shadows and layers. Vines borrow it for climbs, orchids for blooms, ants and birds and cats for their brief and brilliant errands. Everything spends and earns at once. Even waste glows with value. Fallen fruit feeds lives you'll never see, and those lives carry nutrients back to roots that will sponsor another round of green. Out at sea, where the surface glints and the deep is blue and quiet, the same allowance rules. Near the lighted skin of the water, tiny algae and plankton do the leaf's work in miniature. Whales, minnows, jellyfish, sharks, their dramas and lullabies balance on that invisible scaffolding. In places where upwelling brings nutrients to the sun, life arrives with color and motion. Where the water stays sealed and poor, a hush remains. The investor is the same. The local budgets make the difference. Our story threads through this just as gently. Farming is humanity learning to partner with the mint, arranging soil and seed so that sunlight turns into harvest with reliability. Bread, rice, beans, fruit, all are careful packets of day turned edible. Livestock, for those who keep them, are intermediaries in the same trade. Villages became towns, became cities on the strength of these dependable deposits, the way a family grows secure on a steady income. Even the fuels we burn to move and build are not strangers in this tale. Coal, oil, and natural gas are ancient trust funds, pressed sunlight from old forests and long-vanished seas. Strike a match or turn a key, and you are spending savings set aside in deep time. The warmth that climbs your hands, the hum in a road at dusk, the glow above a porch, each is the echo of a leaf's bookkeeping in a world that no longer exists. It is powerful, and it is finite, and it reminds us again of the second rule: spend, and the coin spreads; burn, and the heat wanders away. The sun, steadfast as habit, asks nothing back. It makes no collections, charges no interest, sets no alarms. It simply shines, and the earth answers with creativity, a green imagination that turns light into forests and reefs, prairies and orchards, mountain meadows and window boxes. Place your hand in a square of afternoon on the floor, and you are touching the same current that drives storms, lifts sap, and spins turbines. The warmth you feel is not just comfort. It is purchase power arriving gently, ready to be turned into growth, repair, laughter, rest. This is where the laws and the day meet. The first law gives you confidence to lean back. The world will not drop anything. It only passes it along. The second gives you permission to be tender. Concentration cannot hold forever, so help it while it's here. Tend the fire, then let it fade. Cook the meal, then let the warmth go. Work with care, then rest, and let the body settle what it has spent. The fee paid to entropy is not a punishment. It is the way stories close their circles. Picture again the cooling tea. What was special becomes general, and the room keeps it as a small kindness against the night. Picture the fireplace after the last log. The ashes keep their pale memory of heat, while the house holds a little more ease in its walls. Picture a field after harvest, roots sleeping under frost, sunlight saved as starch. In every scene, the same truth hums. The account does not run dry, and yet each concentrated gift has its season. To live with this in mind is to move gently through the world as both spender and steward. Every meal is a transfer, every chore a conversion, every lamp a quiet transaction with the sky. The total remains, and still we choose where and how to focus it for a time. We lift, we warm, we heal, we learn, and each act leaves a soft wake that blends into the larger air. It is beautiful because it cannot be clutched. It is precious because it passes. Call energy the ability to do work, if that suits your careful side. Then let your listening side add the rest. Every act of work carries a price, a small loosening, a gentle slide toward the common pool that keeps the world honest and whole. A generous sun, a patient mint of leaves, a web that shares, a ledger that never lies. Somewhere inside that balance is a way of living that feels humble and rich, at once steady hands, guiding a flow that was here before us and will remain after we sleep, a currency, eternal in sum and tender in use, paying for every flicker, every heartbeat, every warm room on a winter night. And if this sounds vast, tilt the lens inward. The same accounting holds in the smallest rooms of life. Far beneath the skin of attention, inside every living cell, there's a hush that's busy. Proteins fold like careful origami, membranes flex like slow tides, tiny signals pass hand to hand, molecules queue and disperse like late-night trains. None of this bustle is free. A city needs coins to keep its markets open. A cell needs a tender it can spend in precise, gentle amounts. The coin is ATP, adenosine triphosphate, small, quick to change hands, perfectly sized for the 1,000 errands of life. 3 phosphates sit together like springs under tension. Loosen one, and a polite packet of energy slips free. That is why the coin works. Not a bonfire, but a match. Not a bar of gold, but a pocket of change. The scale of the quiet commerce is astonishing. Each second, trillions of cells mint and spend ATP. Over a day, you turn over roughly your own weight in this coin, printing and redeeming it so constantly that storage hardly exists. A pump nudges sodium out and potassium in coins spent. A muscle fiber shortens so your hand finds the cup thousands more. A neuron lines up its next thought and pays in little bursts. You do not feel the accounting, yet it is what you feel when warmth gathers, when calm returns, when a memory lands. Inside the walls of a cell, metabolism reads like a gently lit marketplace. Meals become raw deposits, sugars, fats, amino acids. Pathways weave them into spendable form glycolysis, preparing small packets. The citric acid cycle shaping them further. Oxidative phosphorylation lifting the value with a final polish. By the end, ATP is minted and instantly pressed into service. There is no vault, no hoard. The coin exists to move. When the room is still and the pulse is slow, the mint eases. When the body sprints or startles, production surges as if the presses wake on command. The system isn't lavish, it's attentive. Waste is discouraged, thrift is prized, and yet generosity is never far when need arrives. If ATP is the coin, mitochondria are the mint. These small organelles are not loud, but they are tireless. Electrons, borrowed from food, step down a careful staircase of proteins along the inner membrane. Each step releases a little strength that is used to pile protons on one side of that membrane, a quiet reservoir of potential. When the protons flow back, a molecular turbine ATP synthase spins, clicks, and prints fresh coins. It is elegant machinery, scaled to invisibility, a river harnessed to a mill, a breeze caught in a wheel, a patience that never quite stops. Breathing folds neatly into this story. Oxygen rides from lung to blood to tissue and waits at the end of the electron's journey, accepting them with kindness and letting water form as a soft conclusion. Without this final receiver, the line would jam and the mint would stall. That is why air feels like relief, why a deep breath clears the fog. It's an auditor ensuring the ledgers close and reopen, the economy continuing with grace. Cells keep other plans in their pocket. When glucose is plentiful, it is welcomed. When it is scarce, fat is invited to the counter and broken into pieces that fit the same pathways. When demand is sudden and oxygen cannot keep up, fermentation steps in quick, imperfect, a short-term loan that buys a few more moments of effort. The point is continuity. Bankruptcy is not tolerated. At the cellular scale, too many lives depend on the next small purchase being possible. The spending lists are endless and tender. A neuron pays to reset its charge after each whisper of signal. A kidney pays to pull water back across a membrane and keep the blood's chemistry kind. A white blood cell pays to move toward an injury, like a lantern finding a path. At night, while the body lies quiet, the market does not close. It simply lowers its voice. Repairs settle in, damaged pieces are removed, gradients are restored, and balances are kept, coin by coin. This is not a private currency. Plants, fungi, bacteria, animals all hold ATP in their hands. The minting methods differ at the edges. The goal is constant. Pay for work with the smallest, safest coin that fits the task. Somewhere far behind history, life tried many ways to handle energy and kept this one because it was both nimble and fair. Since then, evolution has edited the details without changing the currency. Hummingbirds burn through ATP as if time were a drumbeat. Seeds tucked in soil spend almost nothing, saving like saints until the light returns. Bacteria in scalding springs and elephants under a high sun both count the same way. Ease your attention outward and the same accounting appears in larger rooms. What enters a cell as coins enters an ecosystem as flows. Sunlight lands, plants catch it, and from that first careful holding, the exchanges begin. Producers are the foundation leaves and blades and algae that turn weightless photons into sugar with a breath of oxygen to share. They are the mints of the open air, balancing carbon and water with the sky's brightness, writing spendable energy into bonds that will feed neighbors they will never meet. Without them, the marketplace would empty. With them, the stalls fill. Herbivores arrive as gentle spenders, drawing from green accounts to pay for muscle, motion, milk, vigilance. A rabbit bent over clover is cashing a check written by the sun and endorsed by a leaf. But transfers are never perfect. Digestion warms the body, errands spend effort, and only a portion of the original deposit remains to be passed along. Carnivores arrive later in the chain, living on what is left. A fox taking a rabbit, a hawk taking a vole, a person pouring milk. The wealth still traces to the same star, but fewer bills make it this far. That is why pyramids shape life. Many leaves, fewer deer, even fewer wolves. Many plankton, fewer fish, fewer sharks. Energy leaks into warmth and motion at each step, not as waste, but as the honest fee for staying alive. The arrangement has its humor. A lion cannot live on salad, not for lack of energy and leaves, but for lack of keys to those locks. Cows and deer carry entire symphonies of microbes in chambers, meant to tease calories from tough fibers. Cats are built for speed and concentration, not for the long, patient chemistry that grass requires. In a sense, Predators outsource digestion to grazers, arriving late to claim a dividend that would not exist without the first investors. The world arranges itself around these limits with a calm intelligence. Wide grasslands to feed herds, which feed only a few prides. Broad seas with countless plankton to sustain schools, and then a measured number of hunters. Balance is not a moral, it is arithmetic singing softly. Decomposers close the circle with a grace that goes mostly unseen. Fungi lace through a fallen trunk. Bacteria turn a quiet body back into soil and air. Scavengers make use of what is left on the ground. They are the accountants of endings, making sure that value returns to a form that leaves can read. Without them, the stage would crowd with leftovers. With them, the floor is cleared and set again each season. The ledger never stops. It only changes handwriting. Each chain is a story and a loop at once. A leaf catches light. A caterpillar eats the leaf. A bird eats the caterpillar. A hawk catches the bird. And when the hawk's bright attention finally loosens, small workers return what remains to earth so that roots can find it and write green once more. Nothing vanishes, everything spreads. The same motion that governs a cooling cup in a quiet room also shapes a forest's abundance. Energy is conserved and also dispersed, shifting from focused pockets to the friendly background that warms hands and air. Life endures by intercepting concentration while it lasts, and by returning what it cannot keep with thanks. People are stitched into the web without standing apart from it. A bowl of beans or rice draws close to the source, spending sunlight that passed only once through a leaf. A stake steps further up the ladder after heat and motion have already claimed their share along the way. Neither choice is outside the rules. Each simply sits in a different place on the pyramid. Fields that feed animals must be wider. Time between sun and plate grows longer. The coin remains the same. None of this requires perfection to be beautiful. Forests thrive without tight numbers. Prairies keep their poise with wind and weather as partners. Reefs bloom and dim and bloom again as currents bring and take. What matters is flow. The sun pays. Producers mint. Consumers spend. Decomposers reconcile. The rhythm repeats until even mountains feel like a kind of breath. Step back, and you can see why certain creatures are few and wide-ranging, why others arrive in multitudes, why the absence of a top hunter can loosen a knot that held a valley steady. Energy's pathways trace the outlines of everything that lives in a place. Return your attention to the smallest rooms again, and the same tenderness holds. A membrane's pump pays out coins to keep charge and salt where they belong. A strand of DNA opens and invites repair. The bill settled on the spot. A damaged protein is taken apart with care so that its pieces can serve again. When you grow warm under a blanket, you are feeling the sum of countless tiny purchases. ATP turned into the small frictions that keep a winter night kind. Across all scales, the lesson is the same and oddly comforting. There is a currency that never ceases and never cheats. It is minted in mitochondria and meadows, spent in synapses and on savannas, recycled by mushrooms and by rain. It pays for the flicker in a firefly and the patient beat in your chest. Every breath you take is both intake and offering oxygen in, so the mint can turn, carbon out, so the next leaf can read it and write again. The coin changes hands, changes forms, and keeps its promise to enable a world that moves, warms, grows, heals, rests. Somewhere tonight, a seed waits under soil with its budget unread, and a hummingbird's heart drums for a torrent of coin. Somewhere, a whale rises to exhale and sink, powered by a ladder of plankton and small fish that began as surface sunlight. Somewhere, a person clicks off a lamp, and the last warmth slips into the room like a closing whisper. You're inside the same accounting spender and recipient, saver and generous giver, carrying a stream that began as light, moved through leaf and meal and muscle, and now settles into your steady human glow. The marvel isn't that the system is perfect. It never is. The marvel is that it holds that the same coin works in desert and rainforest, in city and tide pool, inside your smallest cells and across a field of grass. You, a tree, a moth, all posting to the same ledger, keeping it running without seeing the whole. With that in mind, the body loosens. Life is a market that runs softly through the night, a network of exchanges that asks only this: guide the flow you're given with care. Spend it where warmth and meaning gather, and return the rest gently to the world that made it. Follow that current, and another truth appears. What we call evolution is bookkeeping with teeth and feathers. The chases and escapes, the luck and weather beneath them, runs a quieter plot written by energy. Every life is a book of accounts: how to gather, how to keep, how to spend without coming up short. Bodies become ledgers, habits become strategies. What looks like style is often budgeting. Size tells the first tale. Large creatures live with sturdiness and long memory, but their bulk demands a steady river of calories. Small ones sip less per hour, yet burn bright, running close to empty if supply stumbles. Neither path is superior. Each is a way to stay solvent in a world that never stops charging fees. Ancient giants wore the problem openly. Sauropods, with necks like cranes and bellies like barns, solved the cost of movement by making distance come to them. Standing nearly still, a long sweep of head could comb a wide field of leaves. The legs saved their strength, while the mouth did the traveling. Their kin at the sharp end theropods with teeth like chisels optimized in a different direction. A massive hunter cannot afford casual chases. Precision matters. Wait, choose, commit, then finish quickly. A reckless sprint that ends empty is an energy debt, and debts end bloodlines. Feathered kin tried another wager. Light bones, clever lungs, and the risky magic of flight. Flying is costly on the minute hand and generous on the hour hand. A high burn rate buys new food, new safety, new ranges of air where fewer jaws wait. It is the kind of gamble evolution is willing to fund when the return seed, nectar, open water, high branches pays back the loan with interest. Hummingbirds are the poem written at the edge of what is possible. Wings blur. The body hovers like a thought that refuses to fall. Nectar goes in and almost immediately becomes motion, heat, shine. To balance the books, they drink and drink, then each night fold themselves into torpor, dimming the lights to survive the dark when flowers close and air cools. Morning is a reopening of the shop. Evening is closing time. Every day, a narrow bridge of intake and expense. It works because the tally is exquisitely managed, moment to moment. Our own kind tells a different chapter. We carry an organ that behaves like a tiny, expensive city. The human brain, small in weight, claims a large share of the resting budget, roughly a fifth, simply to keep the streets lit and the traffic humane. To support that costly brightness, bodies changed. Walking upright freed hands to make and carry. Tools stretched reach and efficiency. Cooking softened food and unlocked more from each bite. Groups gathered and shared, spreading risk and smoothing the spikes of hunger and hazard. Culture itself is an energy technology, a way to store, transfer, and ensure. Behavior is accounting, too. A predator weighs the likely payout of a chase against the loss such a sprint demands. A grazer balances calories won by moving into richer patches against exposure in open ground. Migrants lift into long arcs, not for adventure but for profit breeding where food is briefly abundant. Wintering where cold bites less deeply into savings. Even the bright bravado of courtship is a ledger entry. Song, color, dance, or gift as a declaration that there is surplus here, enough to spare for beauty while the basics are still paid. Speed dazzles, but thrift endures. A cheetah can write a sentence of pure acceleration few can read, and the cost is immediate. If the words do not end in a meal, the body must crouch and cool, vulnerable. Hyenas show another page: stamina, teamwork, and persistence at lower cost. Both succeed because both keep the same rule in view: never spend more than you gain often enough to matter. Plants hold their own classes in economics. In deserts, cacti gather tight and guard their water, reducing leaf to spine and trading shade for survival. In rainforests, broad leaves unfurl like green sails to catch thin light below the canopy. Bark thickens where fire is likely, thins where growth is better currency. Flowers open when pollinators are present, close when the math turns poor. Roots dive deep or spread wide depending on where the map of moisture promises a return. Every shape reads like a line from a budget. Protect here, invest there, pay the fee of heat or cold or drought with the least regret. Across landscapes, inefficiency builds structure. At each handoff, leaf to grazer, grazer to hunter energy, leaks into heat and motion. That steady seep explains why prairies must be vast to host herds, and why only a few prides can live upon them. It explains why the sea brims with plankton, hums with fish, and still supports only a small number of the largest hunters. If transfers were perfect, the world would swarm with predators and leave too little for foundation. Instead, the pyramid holds, many at the base, few at the top, all linked by the same gentle losses that keep the whole from tipping. There are charming asymmetries as well. A lion cannot live on lettuce, not from lack of energy in leaves, but from lack of tools to unlock it. Ruminants partner with microbes and chambers to draw calories from fiber. The cat arrives later to take a concentrated share, outsourcing in fur. Strategies nest inside strategies. The energy story refracted through stomachs, teeth, and time. None of it is random noise. None of it is purely destiny. It is negotiation. Populations talk to weather and soil, to prey and predator, to the long arithmetic of seasons. Genes write proposals. Bodies test them. Places vote. The winning designs are seldom showy for showiness' sake. They are economical in ways that feel like elegance. A wing tapered just enough. A root tip sensitive to just the right gradient. A sleep that cools the system when evening would otherwise empty the tank. A social rule that shares food when luck runs uneven. Say it simply, and it softens the whole picture. Evolution favors good budgeting. Hummingbirds live by sprinting and sleeping. Lions by patience and precision. People by turning resources into meals, stories, and plans that outlast weather. Whales cruise on slow strength, bats on night air, lichens on the smallest trickles of wet and light. The world is full of winners of small, persistent contests where the prize is not glory, just solvency through winter and a handful of young that can do the same. Look at a feather, a scale, a hoof, a hand, and you can see the accountant's pencil. Every edge and curve is a note in the margin. Gather enough, store what you can, spend where it matters, avoid ruinous costs. Over ages, the handwriting refines. Some ideas are crossed out. Others earn underlines and are copied forward. The result is a living archive of what kept creatures in the black long enough to become ancestors. Energy is not only the fuel of this story, it is the sculptor's tool, the chisel that persuades shape from stone, the quiet voice that says, again and again, to live is to spend, and to last is to spend wisely. Some moments don't just help us survive, they widen what life can be. One quiet turning came with something that dances and devours, terrifies and comforts. Fire, not a tool of flint or a wheel of wood, but a living light that pulled the horizon closer and made new rooms inside the night. At first it was mystery dressed as warmth, dry wood, a spark, a breath, and then a wavering tongue that could swallow a hillside or sit tame in a ring of stones. It could destroy, and it could protect. Most of all, it could transform food. Cooking turned stubborn fibers and tight proteins into softness. Releasing calories the jaw no longer had to fight for, and the gut no longer had to coax open for hours. More energy arrived with less effort, a bargain evolution favors. That surplus didn't just feed muscle, it fed time. Time to shape sharper points, to weave traps, to notice the sky, to carry ideas forward instead of only carrying the day. The change ran through the body and into the mind. A cooked root gave back more than a raw one. Meat over coals surrendered its hidden value. Chewing eased, digestion shortened. The saved energy could be invested elsewhere. Dexterous fingers, patient planning, and the strange architecture of a brain that imagines tomorrow. If we sometimes borrow vigor from coffee, our ancestors discovered a deeper recipe, heat as a key that opened food's locked doors and paid for new kinds of thought. Beyond the plate, fire redrew the map. In cold places, it turned no into maybe, and maybe into yes. A small flame made inhospitable air friendly, kept fingers from stiffening, and let sleep arrive without teeth chattering. With a coal carried in bark or a bundle of smoldering sticks, families crossed ridges and rivers into latitudes where winter tested everything. Caves became homes. Snow nights became bearable. The boundary of where a human could be shrank under a patient ember. It guarded as well as warmed. The thin wall of light kept eyes glinting in the brush from coming closer. Wolves circled and reconsidered. A campfire turned a fragile cluster into a defended circle. Inside its glow, shoulders lowered, breath evened, and the part of the mind that listens for danger finally allowed a dream to begin. Within that ring, something else gathered. Voices, laughter, story. The flame made a theater wherever it lived. Faces brightened and dimmed with the flicker. Hands spoke. Memories became myths. Wisdom could take its time. A new kind of evening began, one not ruled by darkness but by ember light, where skills were taught, songs were tested, and a wandering band became an us. Night stopped being only a pause between days and became a second canvas. The gift required care. Sparks needed tending, fuel needed collecting, and someone always kept watch. To lose the flame at the wrong time was to lose the household's shield and kitchen at once. So rituals grew, taboos too. Firekeepers learned to coax coals back to life. Children learned not to waste the wood that wouldn't quickly return. The flame taught responsibility long before anyone wrote rules. From the hearth, the revolution walked outward. Clay met heat and became pottery. Ore met heat and became tool and blade. Fields met flame and became ready for seed. Glassmakers learned to shape sand at the edge of liquid light, and blacksmiths taught red metal to remember hammers. What began with roasted roots stretched into kilns and forges, and much later, into engines. Fire's language, transformed by heat, wrote its verbs across centuries. Long before stoves clicked or switches glowed, fire had its own roads. People carried it over mountains in nests of tinder, kept small embers alive through rain, traded a coal like a blessing between neighboring camps. Lightning and volcanoes may have offered the first lessons. After that, fire traveled because hands chose to carry it. It became companion as much as tool. Cultures told the story in ways that matched the feeling. A stolen spark from a jealous heaven. A figure who loved people enough to risk punishment. A bright trick that granted power and obligation at once. The myths caught a truth. This was not just another instrument on a belt. It was the instrument that changed the shape of human days. Even now, in rooms that glow without flame, the old pull remains. Campfires draw us into circles. Candles mark vows and farewells. We still lean toward a small light and feel something quiet and old settle in the chest. That first tended blaze was a promise disguised as heat. It promised that cold could be met, that food could nourish more deeply, that night could be woven with story. It promised that surviving might someday turn into thriving. It was our first partnership with energy. You could see, a revolution measured not in gears, but in faces made thoughtful by amber light. Another revolution arrived with less drama and more patience. Fields. Before farming, food came as weather does, sometimes generous, sometimes mean, never guaranteed. Berries, tubers, game, bursts of calories that could not be stored for long. Then came the deliberate garden, and with it, a new answer to hunger: bottle the sun. Plants already knew how to be alchemists, taking light and, with air and water, writing sugar. Humans learned to guide that trick, to clear land, place seed, shelter sprouts, and protect the harvest. A field became a quiet array of green solar panels, storing brightness as starch in grain and sweetness in fruit. Calories turned from scattered and fleeting to concentrated and keepable. A sack of wheat, a jar of rice, a basket of maize edible batteries you could carry into winter. Surplus changed the slope of history. A lucky hunt fed a camp. A good harvest fed a village through snow and lean months. With food stored, not every hand needed to seek the next meal each day. Some could build, carve, keep records, settle disputes, dream big. Temples rose, roads stretched, stories were pressed into clay and carried downstream. Farming didn't just fill bellies, it freed attention. Grain played star and banker. Dry it, store it, measure it, move it. Unlike fruit that bruises or greens that wilt, grain waits. It divides cleanly, pays wages, feeds armies, survives a river journey. In more than one valley, taxes were tallied in barley or wheat, and a ruler's strength could be guessed by the granary's shadows. Along the Nile, along the Yellow River, across terraces and deltas, harvests became calendars and currencies at once. Calories are the primary unit of human energy. A person needs only thousands a day, but multiplied across a town, the total becomes a tide. Granaries became banks against lean years. Irrigation turned fickle rain into planned rivers. Plows let a single body move a field's worth of soil. Rotations and fallows learned to rest the earth so it would remain generous. Every tool was a multiplier for sunlight. The system scaled. A family tended a plot and survived. A network of villages stitched together a region and grew. Estates appeared, canals lengthened, terraces climbed hills, pastures widened. The flow of sun into society thickened, and with it came scribes, measures, contracts, and the puzzles of fairness. Energy storage asked for oversight. Guards kept rats and thieves out. Laws decided shares and debts. Bureaucracy may be dull by candlelight, but it is what a civilization looks like when it organizes around stored light. Abundance was never pure gift. Diets narrowed where one staple took the stage: wheat here, rice there, maize elsewhere, leaving bodies strong but at times missing small necessities. Work lengthened, backs bent, seasons ruled with a clock older than clocks. Farming was liberation from uncertainty and a tether to soil that asked much and gave much. Still, it endured, for its promise was steady: enough now, enough later, enough to raise children who would add their labor and their songs. Culture grew around the green clock: planting festivals, harvest feasts, stories of gods who die and return with the crops, offerings for rain, dances for plenty. The field became altar and workshop. Even today, the echo remains. A supermarket aisle is a modern granary's corridor. Shipping lanes are new names for old caravan routes. A pantry is a family's private storehouse against bad weather. Beneath electronics and engines, the foundation is still agriculture. Without the daily capture of sunlight and leaves, no grid would hum for long. There's a quiet grace in noticing what a meal really is. Bread is afternoon light, held in grain and loosened by heat. Rice is a monsoon kept for winter. A tortilla is a field, a sun, and patient hands pressed into a circle you can hold. To eat is to join a chain of storage and release that began when someone chose a seed, a place, a season. Farming did more than change address and diet. It taught us to measure, to save, to plan across years. It turned chance into schedule and harvest into story. It made energy legible: acres and yields, sacks and rations, interest in the form of seed kept for next season. Fields became vaults, granaries became banks, grain became both food and coin. From those stores came cathedrals and caravels, looms and libraries, music and mathematics. Sunlight, bottled by leaves and tended by hands, paid for the long projects of memory. What began with a spark and a cooked root grew into kilns and plows, into ledgers and songs. First, we learned to warm and soften the world. Then we learned to store its brightness. The same current runs through both gestures. Gather energy kindly, guide it, keep it moving where it matters, and share the surplus in ways that let a people last. The embers in a ring and the sheaves in a barn are two faces of the same idea. One stretches the day, the other stretches the year. Together they turned survival into a steadier kind of life. Rooms of warmth inside winter, rooms of plenty inside time. Beneath the fields and streets runs a quiet inheritance, older than language and deep as bedrock. Coal, oil, and natural gas are not merely fuel, they are pressed sunlight, memories of old forests and ancient seas stored away by time and pressure. Ferns once reached for warm air, plankton drifted and bloomed, mud covered what fell, heat and gravity waited patiently. Layer after layer, the planet wrote a ledger of light in stone and liquid and vapor. When hands learned to dig and drill and coax a flame, that savings account opened and the world changed its pace. For most of our story, energy showed up as weather and muscle. Wood warmed the room, grain warmed the body, rivers turned wheels where geography allowed. Then coal arrived like a condensed season, darkness that burned bright. A shovelful into a firebox could push pistons and lift water, pull trains over mountains, and keep the teeth of new machines biting through ore and cloth. What took days of backs and hooves could be done in hours, reliably, loudly, on schedules that no winter storm could veto. It felt like finding a vault and, all at once, having the keys. Oil followed with a traveler's grace. Liquid, portable, ready for refining into many lives at once. It slipped into lamps and engines and ships, then into cars that threaded roads and planes that stitched continents. Machines ran smoother with it. Cities shone cleaner under it. Distant markets felt suddenly near. Natural gas joined as a clear, hot flame that warmed houses, cooked meals, and spun turbines with an almost polite efficiency. Together they became the hidden wind under modern wings, factories day and night, harvests multiplied by fertilizers born from fossil chemistry, cargo crossing oceans as easily as a letter crosses a desk. So much abundance gave courage and speed. Lifespans lengthened, medicines reached where feet could not, news traveled faster than storms. The concentrated wealth of past summers paid for laboratories and libraries, for bridges and bright hospitals. The deep past underwrote the daring of the present, and for a time it seemed this current might carry forever. Yet every barrel and ton and cubic meter is a withdrawal, not a dividend. These stores took ages to gather and only centuries to spend. We treated an inheritance like income. The bill arrived in the air. The carbon that once slept in stone and sediment returned to wind and weather, each flame a small exhale that, when multiplied across nations, taught the sky a new habit. Temperatures crept, ice thinned, rains shifted, coasts learned new maps. Fossil fuels had funded astonishing good warm homes, clean water, swift relief, and yet their very strengths, density, and reliability made them easy to overuse. We were caching ancient sunlight at a tempo that the planet could not quietly absorb. It would be unfair to forget the lives lifted. Lights staying on in a clinic at midnight. Vaccines kept cold and safe. Winter floors warmed for elders who once knew only the ache of frost. The problem is scale without restraint. The party that never paused to count how much was left in the vault. Seeing coal as a forest's memory and oil as a sea's echo sharpens the feeling. Hold a lump of coal and you can almost feel the damp weight of a swamp older than dinosaurs. Watch a flame in an engine and imagine an algae bloom returning to brightness for just a heartbeat. Awe and unease sit together in that picture as they should. Now the crossroad is plain. The reserves are finite. The side effects are not shy. The atmosphere, once a quiet background, carries our fingerprints. The question has softened from "can we?" to "how quickly and kindly can we learn other ways?" Not because engines suddenly forgot their jobs, but because the bill keeps arriving as fire years and flood years and quiet extinctions, and the cost is paid by places, not spreadsheets. The lesson in The Rock is simple and stern. Borrowed light needs careful spending. Another current runs through the story, one that hums without smoke. Electricity feels ordinary now, but its ordinariness is a magic earned. A small motion, a click, and a lamp blossoms. A quiet cable delivers voice and song to a far room. A motor wakes without a puff and turns steadily, indifferent to wind or flame. Among all the forms of energy, this one is the most shape-shifting. It can be light, heat, motion, magnetism, music, and thought, switching roles as easily as a word changes meaning in a poem. Curiosity lit the first sparks, amber rubbed to a crackle, hair rising to meet a comb, lightning scaring and seducing in the same breath, signs without a manual. Patient hands in the 18th and 19th centuries gave it one. Bottles that held charge, machines that spun it, circuits that guided it. Then a filament glowed inside glass, and night stepped back from doorways and streets. The common rhythm of sleep and waking stretched. Neighborhoods felt safer as shadows thinned. Work found new hours. The bulb was more than a device. It was proof that invisible order could be invited and kept nearby. Motors turned that order into muscle, where steam required heat and pressure and large, hissing bodies of iron. A motor asked only for a wire and a will. A sewing machine's hum, an elevator's faithful rise, a pump that meant a town did not have to carry water by hand. Each was electricity turning quietly into motion at the scale needed, the instant wanted. The same current that read a record's grooves could also run a factory line. The same principles that spun a small fan could move a train. Words learned to ride it. Dots and dashes crossed planes. Then voices threaded together distant kitchens and offices. Then music and news arrived as if the air itself had become generous. Messages that once traveled by hoof and hull now took the path of copper and later, sky. The world shrank not with violence, but with clarity. All of this required a new kind of marketplace, the grid. Imagine an economy that must balance every second, where supply and demand meet, not daily or hourly, but in the exact heartbeat of now. Power plants push electrons onto lines born of water falling, steam turning, wind sweeping, sun spilling, as well as coal and gas where they remain, and countless homes and shops and hospitals sip from the flow. Between them, transformers and substations step the pressure up and down. Dispatchers nudge generators, steer around troubles, and smooth the bumps when kettles click on in the morning or televisions glow at dusk. The choreography is exacting and mostly unseen, a symphony conducted by people you will never meet, so that a single switch in a single room always feels like a simple request. Electricity's gift is how easily it translates. Heat, light, motion, magnetism, computation. One currency that pays for nearly any task, unlike a pile of wood meant for flames or a tank of fuel shaped for engines. This current is promiscuous in the best way. The same river of electrons that brightens a bulb can guide a scalpel's hand with a steady motor or hold a library inside a device that fits in a palm. It softened not just the night but the edges of time itself. Cities learned to grow upward on the reliability of elevators and pumps. Subways folded space under streets. Factories shed belts and shafts and became rooms where machines each had a quiet heart. The wires do not brag. They look like clotheslines on poles, like black vines along brick. Sockets yawn, indifferent, until a plug arrives. The miracle is invisible. Electrons, drifting like a disciplined crowd, moving in place more than marching, rearranging their shared understanding in patterns that make heat where you need heat, light where you need light, and logic inside the chips that write these words. That such small things carry such weight is a comfort. The world can be changed by what you cannot see. The rise of this gentle servant was not inevitable. It took brash experiments and careful standards, stubborn builders and cautious operators, copper and steel stitched across maps, arguments about frequency and voltage, and public good. But once the habit formed, once rooms listened for the hum life, rearranged around the certainty that a fingertip could call for light or motion and receive it, nights lengthened for reading and talk, work reorganized around motors instead of boilers, the line between day and evening blurred. The steady tone of a city's current became a kind of heartbeat. Hidden beneath the story of fossil carbon and running alongside the fields that bottle sunlight, this river of electrons gave us a way to steer energy with the gentleness of a whisper. It does not absolve the past. It gives us a path forward, because if you can make electricity from the fall of water, the push of wind, the glow of noon, or the heat from deep rock, then the same sockets can deliver a cleaner answer. The lamps do not care which turbine spun, only that the current arrived. The motors do not care which star paid, only that the wires were fed. It is humbling to know how much of the modern day rests on old light pressed in stone, and how much of tomorrow depends on currents that can flow without smoke. The lesson repeats with a kindness that feels like guidance. Energy is never free, only borrowed. Debts, unpaid, return as weather. And the most tender technologies are the ones that let us do the same work with softer footprints. Somewhere a mine is quieting. Somewhere a wind farm is learning the habits of a valley's gusts. Somewhere a control room is watching numbers behave. And somewhere, in a small kitchen, a hand reaches for a switch, the room brightens, and a life continues, powered by a chain of choices that began with leaves and lightning and the human wish to make the night kind. Walk any city at night and you can hear it if you listen, the soft, even hum that keeps windows bright and elevators faithful. The same current that wakes a lamp also turns a train wheel and carries a voice across an ocean. It slips through copper like a river through reeds, changing shape whenever it's asked. Electricity is energy on call, the most adaptable currency we've learned to spend. Behind neon and screen glow, behind refrigerators that purr and heart monitors that blink, there is one patient flow answering a million small requests. Beneath the economy of bills and balances, there is an older economy that gives the numbers meaning, the economy of energy, calories, watts, joules. These are the real coins. Money only points toward them. A vault of gold cannot warm a room or boil a kettle unless it buys access to power. A shimmering account cannot drive a screw or knead a loaf without fuel waiting in a tank or electrons ready in a wire. Wealth, in the end, is capacity to make change happen, and capacity is always paid for with energy. The body keeps its own books with quiet honesty, calories in motion and heat out. Spend beyond your intake and you feel the tug of hunger. Store too much and the body banks it for later with a sleepy thrift. A watt is simply the speed of spending a rate at which work happens. societies mirror the same truth. A prosperous city is one where bridges rise, clinics run through the night, trains arrive on time, and homes glow with steady light. All of that is energy translated into action. Money acting as a token that trades for calories, heat, and flow. Older peoples marked wealth in measures that did not pretend to be anything else. Sheaves of grain, herds on hills, a good stretch of riverbank, each was a battery of sunlight and soil. A sack of barley was payment and meal at once. Pastures were valued as steady collectors of day. Even a stamped coin's power was its power to command bread, lumber, stone, muscle, the energy of human bodies, and the energy locked in things. When economies abstracted into ledgers and screens, the link became less visible but never weaker. A paycheck buys kilowatt hours, miles of travel, meals full of plant-caught light. A nation's output can be tallied in currency, but the heartbeat underneath is how quickly it turns energy into buildings, care, learning, and goods. This is why engines and grids felt like revelations rather than mere tools. Coal heaps and oil drums were the obvious trophies of the industrial age because they determined how much work could be called into the present. Fabrics woven faster than hands, iron poured and shaped, ships freed from the mercy of wind. These were energy stories. Wars, too, chased not only borders, but seams and fields underground. Wealth pursued energy. Energy redrew wealth. The parallel explains the allure of efficiency as well. In a home, sealing a draft is like canceling a useless fee. In a factory, a better motor lifts margins. In a country, insulation and transit and smart controls stretch comfort and productivity without extra strain on wells or mines. Prudence with watts resembles prudence with money. Less waste, more room for what matters. It is tempting to mistake money for power by itself. A figure on a screen can swell without adding a single degree of warmth to a cold room. When fuel is scarce or grids falter, the gloss peels away and the basics show through. Food, heat, clean water, and movement are the pillars, and each is an energy question first. Conversely, a place rich in sun, wind, water, soil, and skill can thrive even with thin wallets. Rivers, fields, and steady breezes are forms of fortune as real as bullion. Modern anxieties often reveal the tether. Markets wobble when oil tightens or gas grows costly because money rides on the availability of physical power. Even the lightness of the digital world has heavy roots. Servers drink electricity. Networks pulse with it, and every message or song or call is a trail of electrons aligning in circuits. The cloud is made of humming rooms, and those rooms are kept alive by hours of current, measured carefully and paid for daily. We keep a close count on coins, and yet energy can slip by without attention. Switches flick, engines idle, food spoils in bright kitchens. If watts are wealth, we are sometimes untidy bankers. The correction is simple. Remember what those symbols stand for. Every calorie began as sunlight gathered by leaves. Every watt started as falling water, moving air, focused light, buried heat, or the burning of ancient stores. The world is a web of exchanges measured in motion, warmth, and glow. Money is the language we use to coordinate, not the force that turns the gears. No fortune, however tall, can summon energy that isn't there. Money can decide which way power flows and who receives it. It cannot change the boundary of what exists to be harnessed. Civilizations have risen on fertile plains and generous seams, then bent when the balance shifted. Soil tired, forests felled, deposits thinned, or costs grew sharper than gains. Energy writes the constraints. We write our plans within them. Recognizing this doesn't make finance trivial, it anchors it. True wealth is sunlight held in grain and fruit, heat brought safely indoors, water lifted and let down through turbines, meals that keep hearts steady, journeys that bring care and connection. Coins and accounts manage relationships. Energy keeps bodies and cities alive. When we first burned coal and oil at scale, it felt like inheriting an old estate and throwing the doors wide to music and light. The party lifted billions, and for that, we owe gratitude. But those caches were savings built slowly by time and deep earth. Living well now means learning to live on income instead of withdrawals to balance our days on the regular stipends the sky and the planet offer freely. Solar panels are the most literal expression of that gentler math. Photons fall, whether we notice or not. A panel catches a fraction and turns it into current without smoke or flame. The warmth, once bought by burning a forest, can now be borrowed from noon without spending a branch. Sunlight becomes an ordinary paycheck rather than a one-time windfall. Quiet arrays on rooftops and fields do what leaves have always done: take brightness and make it useful. Wind shows up as sunlight in motion. The sun warms landscapes unevenly. Air moves to even the difference. We raise blades into that flow. Sails made the first partnership. Mills followed with grain and water. Turbines now lift the old idea into bigger circles. Each rotation is air's generosity translated into work. Where the sky hurries, so can we. Where it rests, we rest, or we draw on what we saved earlier. Water repeats the lesson in gravity's voice. Rain lifts to clouds, spills to rivers, and gathers behind rock and concrete. Let it fall through turbines, and the fall becomes light and heat far away. Then the water continues downstream to feed farms, fish, and towns. For centuries, wheels turned in streams. Today, dam walls hum with power. The source isn't consumed, it's invited to work on the way. Beneath us, the planet keeps a slow fire. Geothermal wells tap heat left from the world's making, and from minerals that quietly release their energy atom by atom. In volcanic lands, the warmth is near. Elsewhere, it sits deeper, but it is everywhere in principle, a lending of the Earth's own temperature to keep rooms comfortable or to spin generators with patient steam. Living on income rather than inheritance is a change of posture as much as technology. It asks alignment with cycles instead of extraction against them. Sunlight has a daily pulse, wind a temperament, rivers a season, heat a geography. The task is not only catching but also keeping, storing afternoon for midnight, windy Sunday for calm Tuesday. Batteries gather in walls and basements. Lakes act as elevated reservoirs to be drained and refilled. Compressed air waits in caverns. Heat is tucked into salt or stone. Grids become conversational, shifting demand a little here and supply a little there so the whole remains smooth. It is the same wisdom a household practices. Set aside the good days to cushion the thin ones. Share between rooms so nobody freezes or sits in dark. There is also a return to old habits within new tools. People once sailed by prevailing winds, planted by seasonal light, ground grain with rivers and shoulders. We know how to live with rhythm. We simply forgot for a while. The difference now is scale and precision materials that drink sunlight more eagerly. controls that balance whole cities, devices that sip power and still sing. The beauty of this turn isn't only practical. It changes our story from conquest to choreography. Borrow rather than seize. Partner rather than strip. Take what is offered and leave capacity for tomorrow's offering. There is humor and relief in the guarantee. Dawn keeps its promise. Winds return, rivers fall. The planet's heart stays warm beyond any calendar we will ever hold. These sources cannot be spent in the way we spent seams and pools. They can be mismanaged, ignored, or placed where they don't belong, but their root is steady. The limits are real and require respect. Clouds arrive, breezes fade, droughts test patience. Deep heat hides in some regions more than others. The answer is not disbelief, but design, diverse supplies, wires that trade between places, storage with many tempers, buildings that need less to be kind to live in. Every saved watt is a watt we don't have to chase. Every insulated room is a small piece of independence. Look again at the city you walked through earlier. The same sockets that once drew power from coal can drink from wind and sun and water and earth with no change to the lamp or the kettle. Electricity's genius is that it does not care what turned the turbine. It carries the result with the same quiet grace. That makes it the bridge between the world we had and the world we hope to keep. One currency, many paychecks. Behind money's rise and fall, the deeper truth keeps its gentle pressure. Wealth begins and ends with energy, the heat that keeps a child safe, the light that lets an elder read, the motion that brings medicine quickly, the cool that preserves food through summer. When we count carefully, spend kindly, and line our days up with the planet's own incomes, prosperity stops feeling like a feast followed by worry and starts feeling like a steady table where there is enough and room to breathe. Somewhere tonight, panels are cooling under starlight after a bright day's work. A hilltop turbine is turning where the air still moves. A reservoir waits to send water down when kitchens fill with kettles. A battery is keeping a night clinic lit while clouds wander by. Somewhere, too, an old plant is slowing as a new line comes alive. And in the small circle of one room, a hand reaches for a switch. Light arrives, born of choices, balanced by care, paid for with the universe's oldest coin, spent with the softness that lets morning come without regret. Stand beneath a turbine, and the air has fingers. It presses and releases, turning blades the way a hand turns a page. Sit in a home fed by rooftop panels, and the daylight feels personal, a quiet partnership with the star that warms your curtains. Walk a river's edge where water falls through steel throats, and you can almost hear gravity becoming lamplight. Sink into a geothermal pool, and the planet itself lends you its warmth, slow and generous. These aren't distant miracles. They're intimate, close as weather, stitched into the places we sleep and cook and talk. The gentlest thought is also the truest. Living on renewable energy ties our days back into the Earth's old rhythms. Instead of raiding hidden vaults, we live on the steady income the world already pays. Sunlight, wind, falling water, quiet heat. They're not fortunes to hoard, they're flows to share. The work is not conquest, but choreography, lining our needs up with currents that already move. Borrow with care, return with grace, and let the account refill. In that way, technology becomes a philosophy, and wealth becomes a word for harmony rather than depletion. Inside your body, a similar harmony hums. Whether you're walking briskly or lying still, there is an accountant at work who never raises their voice. Breath in, breath out. Sugars split, fats loosen, proteins become parts, and then become whole again. Metabolism is the soft ledger that turns food and air into everything you are doing right now. Blinking, listening, remembering a name, healing a nick on your finger, keeping your temperature kind. Carbohydrates, fats, and proteins are unpacked into small pieces that cells can use. Glucose enters a pathway. Coin after coin of ATP appears, and the spending begins. A blink here, a heartbeat there, a thought crossing a small gap and lighting a path for the next. Even when you do nothing, much is done. At rest, the body is a city at night. Lights in windows, pumps humming, maintenance crews moving through quiet streets. Your resting metabolic rate pays for the essentials, air in and out, a pulse that never forgets its timing, ions ferried across membranes to keep the electrical whisper of life steady. Movement adds to the bill, but the baseline is already large because staying alive is intricate work. Among the city's districts, the brain is a bright downtown, small in weight. It asks for a large share of the budget, a steady draw of glucose and oxygen, even when your eyes are closed. Neurons talk by shifting charged particles across their skins. The pumps that reset them spend ATP in a constant drizzle. Multiply that by billions of cells, each with its own small storm, and you understand why fog settles in when you skip a meal. It isn't just mood, it's a bill unpaid, a reminder that thought itself is expensive. Muscles are honest spenders too. At rest, they are modest. In motion, they are lavish. A sprint is a festival of ATP. A held posture is a quiet leak that grows noticeable with time. Training teaches thrift more mitochondria, better fuel routing, but the law remains. Motion costs, and harder motion costs more. This is not a rebuke, it's a rhythm. Spend to move, and then be still so the mint can catch up. Sleep is where the mint does its finest work. It is not idleness, it is accounting. While you sink into dark, demand eases, and the body redirects resources toward repair. Proteins are rebuilt, small damages are cleaned, memories are filed where you can find them. The immune system straightens its shelves. Skip this nightly audit, and the books tangle. Decisions blur, patience thins, small troubles grow heavy. That dragging feeling is the interest on a debt you hoped to ignore. Eventually, sleep arrives like a firm but kind collector, and the balance is made right. The economy adapts. When abundance visits, the body stores a little extra in fat, a calm vault against later lean days. When supply tightens, that reserve becomes kindness, dripped back into the bloodstream so essentials continue. This flexibility carried ancestors through feast and famine. In a world of constant availability, the same reflex can overdo its care, but its intention is clear. Store when you can, spend when you must. Keep the lights on. Even moods ride this flow. Hunger shortens tempers because the brain votes loudly when fuel dips. Pleasure joins, eating not as a trick, but as a nudge. Refill the stores. It says, this feels good for a reason. Sleepy heaviness after a big meal is not laziness. It's the body sending staff to the kitchen to handle digestion with both hands. What we call willpower and personality is stitched through with these allocations. Choices feel different when reserves are full or thin. If you zoom out, the poetry becomes plain. The energy moving your thoughts tonight began as light. Leaves caught it, turned it into sweetness, tucked it into grain or fruit. You ate, and the sun became your footstep, your sentence, your slow exhale. You are spender and investor at once, living on a budget that starts with a star. Language has been telling us this for a long time. We call people powerful or drained. Ideas spark. Crowds feel electric. Plans fizzle. Projects gain momentum. We recharge after rest. We burn out after weeks too long. Currency itself remembers its root current, a flow. Money and energy move, change hands, make possible, and then pass on. Power belongs to a generator and a leader, and a lamp with equal ease, because beneath the meanings is the same urge, capacity to act. Cultures learned to speak in brightness and warmth long before there were units and meters. The sun had names and faces. Wind did too. Water was a god. Fire, a gift. To keep a flame alive was to keep a household safe. Rituals circled the seasons like a hand around a cup, asking for balance, giving thanks. Candles still burn where we mark beginnings and endings. Eternal flames still stand where we promise to remember. Festivals of light cross calendars and continents, a shared gesture that says the same thing in 100 tongues. Keep the glow moving. Stories give energy its bodies. A hero gathers strength. A villain is consumed. A change arrives as a flash. Lightning and hearths, breath and vigor. A force that moves through hands and places and asks only to be respected. Even our jokes remember the truth. A child is a ball of energy. An adult is out of batteries. A morning coffee is a quick charge. A vacation is a reset. Think of a room that feels good to be in. People calm but bright. Talk easy. Time unhurried. We call it good vibes because it feels like a gentle frequency shared among those present. Science can count breaths per minute and small shifts in heart rate. Culture says the room glows. Both are honest. Energy is the medium of connection, whether described with ions and ATP or with warmth and light. Seen this way, the turn toward renewable energy doesn't only change technology, it changes grammar. We begin to talk like partners instead of quarrelers. We plan like gardeners rather than miners. We accept that dawn is a deposit and dusk is a pause, that wind has moods, that water wears a path, that heat can be borrowed without scarring the lender. We learn to store wisely, afternoon kept for midnight, a windy weekend saved for a still Tuesday, just as a family sets aside a little extra in summer for winter's bills. We build grids that share across neighborhoods the way neighbors have always shared across fences. Inside, the same lesson applies in softer tones. Eat for clarity, sleep for repair, move for joy, rest for balance. Spend where meaning gathers, save in ways that don't feel like fear. Let the accountant work in peace and listen when they clear their throat. When reserves are thin, be gentler with yourself. When they are full, be generous. Stand again beneath the turban and look up. The air keeps its promise. Step under your rooftop panels at noon and feel the silent partnership. Walk beside the dam and think of rain leaving mountains for your lamp. Sit quietly after dinner and place a hand on your chest. The thrum you feel is both withdrawal and deposit, both coin and gift. You are a marketplace where sunlight becomes breath, and breath becomes a story that someone you love will remember. You are not separate from the grid or the field or the flame. You are a participant in the same circulation. Energy has always been the universe's true wealth, and it moves through physics, through bodies, and through words with the same patient rules. Borrow, use, return, balance the books with kindness. Keep the glow moving. And when the room grows soft and the day tilts towards sleep, trust the auditors who never sleep, the hidden hands that turn food into repair and memory into morning. Your account is still open. The current still flows. The world is rich tonight, and you are part of its quiet abundance. We talk about electricity as if it were a person we know. A singer lights up the stage. A friendship has chemistry. A conversation sparks. Cities after dusk are vibrant, pulsing, their streets and windows glowing like a nervous system viewed from the sky. Our screens whisper with signals. Our messages ride wireless waves like thoughts traveling between giant, patient minds. The metaphors come so easily that we hardly notice them arriving. Energy has that kind of gravity in language because it is both unseen and undeniable. You cannot hold a watt in your hand, yet you can feel its proof in warm light, rolling surf, shared laughter, and the deep tiredness after a long day. To live is to be in motion, and motion is made of energy. No wonder we borrow it to explain our joy and effort, our courage and our quiet. What begins as metaphor keeps returning as truth. Myths put faces on lightning and names on winds. Rituals keep flame as a sign that life continues. Everyday speech reaches for sparks and vibes when it needs to describe connection. Underneath the poetry sits a steady recognition. Energy is the thread that binds how we move, how we feel, and how we make meaning together. When we say someone radiates warmth, we are not just being cute. We are admitting that presence itself changes the room like a gentle lamp, and that the body's currency has social forms as real as the physical ones. Step outward, and the same logic fills the night. The universe is a long river of energy, changing shape. The faintest whisper of the cosmic microwave background is a memory of when everything was hot and tight. The violent brilliance of a supernova is a final, generous outburst that seeds a region with ingredients for worlds. If you want to hear the universe talk about itself, listen in the language of energy, how it moves, where it pools, when it disperses, and what new patterns it sponsors on the way. Consider a star. To your eye, it is a steady pinprick. Inside, it is a nuclear bank, hydrogen fusing into helium, releasing light enough to hold up the star against its own gravity. Our sun is modest in stellar terms, yet each second it pours out more energy than humanity has ever used, and it has been doing this calmly for billions of years. Stars aren't burning like campfires. They are engines of alchemy, turning the simplest element into light and heat, and, in later stages, into heavier atoms we will someday breathe and drink and carry in our bones. A star's life is a dance between inward pull and outward push. Gravity wants to fold it. Fusion keeps it inflated. Big stars spin wildly, bright and brief. Small red dwarfs sip carefully and may last longer than anything else we know. A star's lifespan is its budgeting style, written in plasma. When the primary fuel runs low, the balance tips, the core tightens and heats. New reactions begin. The outer layers swell into a red giant's soft drama. Small and medium stars end in quiet sentences, shedding shells of glowing gas and leaving white dwarfs behind, like punctuation. The biggest end in exclamation, supernova. For a few weeks, the explosion outshines everything around it, releasing more energy than our sun will in its entire patient life. That extravagance is not waste. It is how the universe spreads the wealth, carbon, oxygen, iron, and beyond so that planets and oceans and bodies can one day exist. The iron in your blood and the calcium in your teeth were minted in ancient cores and delivered by those final fires. Zoom out further, and galaxies look like cities of light, each a web of flows. Clouds collapse and ignite new stars. Old stars fade. Shock waves stir the medium. Supermassive black holes at the center do their paradoxical work, swallowing matter while launching jets that can span thousands of light years. Those jets and winds act like regulators, preventing a galaxy from burning through its gas too fast. Even where it looks dark, energy is on the move, stored in fields and particles, released in flashes, redirected by gravity's invisible hand. All of this follows quiet rules. The universe began in a flare of concentrated energy. Since then, the general direction has been outward and softer. Hot becomes warm, becomes cool. Concentrated becomes diffuse. Transformation is the theme. Nothing is created from nothing, and nothing essential is lost. But the quality of energy changes with each exchange. At our human scale, we like to think we're in charge, with wires and engines and grids as proof. In the cosmic view, we are a small kindness, a local eddy in a much larger flow. The warmth on your skin today started in the sun's core long ago. The atoms in your body arrived by way of stars that died before Earth existed. You are a temporary account in a ledger that stretches from the first light to the faintest glow at the end of time. There is humility here and comfort. The night sky is no decoration. It is your extended family. Those distant points are active members of the same economy that runs your heartbeat. Their banks fund the possibility of life. Their explosions distribute the raw materials. Their light travels extraordinary distances to meet your eyes. A supernova is fireworks. A galaxy is a marketplace. The universe is the bookkeeper who never misses a line. Every photon, every particle, every great release and small whisper is counted. One rule hums underneath the rest. Entropy increases. It isn't a scold, it's a direction. Energy keeps its sum but gives up its sharpness as its spent heat leaks into the background. Gradients smooth out. The coins get scattered and smaller. Think of a feast. At first, the table is warm and full and aromatic. As time goes on, plates empty, dishes cool, fragments are shared, aromas fade into the general air. Nothing catastrophic happens to end the evening. It simply grows quieter. Entropy is not moral. It's momentum toward evenness. Right now, the cosmos still bustles. Stars fuse, nebulae glow, black holes spin, galaxies collide and pass through each other like overlapping ghosts. With each transformation, some energy slips into forms less ready for work, warmth that drifts, light that thins across unimaginable distances. Over spans so long, they make our calendars feel like sparks. Fuel runs down. New stars stop forming. The sky dims. White dwarfs cool to black. Neutron stars keep their memories and then relent. Black holes themselves, given infinity's patience, leak via Hawking radiation, a quantum trickle that empties even those vaults. In the far quiet, everything is spread out and lukewarm energy still present, usefulness gone. No temperature differences to drive motion, no pressure gradients to coax chemistry, no new stories to start. The economy reaches perfect balance and, with it, perfect stillness. Heat death is a dramatic name for a gentle state. It's less a doom than an evening the last ember finally surrendered to the room. It sits past any time we can truly hold in mind. Not a human worry, not even a galactic worry, more a meditation that says even the largest patterns share, soften, and settle. Knowing this doesn't dim the present, it brightens it. Stars are beautiful because they won't shine forever. Life feels precious because it borrows from fleeting gradients, sunlight to sugars, to thoughts, to laughter, and pays back the difference as warmth into the larger air. Seen this way, entropy is a teacher with a soft voice. It reminds us to value concentration, where we have it: light on a leaf, food on a plate, clarity in the mind. It nudges us to guide energy with care while it's gathered, to spend it on repair and kindness and learning before it disperses. It suggests that the joy we feel in candlelight and festivals and singing crowds is not accidental. We are creatures who notice and celebrate gradients while they last. And still, even as the universe heads toward evenness, complexity blooms along the way. Out of dispersion come pockets of pattern, stars, planets, cells, cultures. Grace arrives between the big rules. Local order bought with local flows. Small oases that live by catching and releasing with timing and taste. Your own body is one such oasis, borrowing sunlight by way of bread and fruit, spending it on breath and memory, restoring overnight, waking to try again. Society is another, grids and fields and stories, all arranged to guide currents into warmth and meaning. Language, too, is an oasis. We keep reaching for energy words because they fit the shapes of our days: sparks and currents, power and flow, burnout and recharge. This is how we map our lives. A candle at a vigil, a string of lights in winter, a festival of lamps that returns each year. These rituals keep us company because they echo the universe's main conversation in forms we can carry. So when the city glows and the turbine's shadow turns, when a child's laugh brightens a room and a candle's small flame makes the quiet feel kind, you are watching energy do what it has always done: move, change, share, settle. You borrow a little starlight each morning and you spend it gently through the day on work and play, on listening and being held, on the long patience of repair while you sleep. Later, everything you borrowed will pass back into the larger balance, and that, too, is part of the kindness. The cosmos keeps books no accountant could lift. We are tiny entries in the margin, and also beautiful ones. To exist at all is to join the flow, to receive, to transform, to give back. Perhaps that's why our words glow with energy. Perhaps that's why lights in winter mean so much. Perhaps that's why, looking up at the night, you feel both small and perfectly placed. You are a brief, bright use of the universe's wealth, a fleeting gradient writing its little poem before it softens into the common light. From galaxies bright as bonfires to dust cooling in far fields of space, every scene belongs to one long journey. The universe moves from sharp brilliance toward softness, from concentrated blaze toward wide, even calm. It does not finish with a crash. It drifts into a hush, a stillness that keeps the memory of all its earlier music. People find comfort in cycles we can touch, the slow turn of seasons, tides arriving and leaving, daylight leaning into evening. The universe offers a similar rhythm, written in measures too vast for the wristwatch but legible to a patient mind. In the far balance, the cosmos grows quiet without growing empty, a final page after many chapters of fire and motion. Heat death sounds stern, yet it acts like a lullaby. Nothing lasts, and nothing is wasted. Everything finds its place in the current. Stars will spend themselves, galaxies will dim, black holes will pay back their hordes and fade, and the universe will rest. Meanwhile, we're here, in the bright middle, where energy still rushes and shines, where life borrows from gradients with gratitude. Impermanence is not a threat in this light. It is the permission slip that makes wonder possible now. Energy is more than the invisible push inside a star or a cell. It is how we make sense of being alive. Beyond equations and meters, energy becomes metaphor and mirror, a language for love, effort, purpose, and the delicate shimmer of a day well lived. We speak of warmth and spark because the body knows these truths before the mind explains them. Love glows, ignites, steadies. It behaves like a force that cannot be grasped, and yet moves everything it touches. Friendship feels like transfer. Some people restore us, some exhaust us, and both truths are exchanges. Even the lightest gesture, a hand on a shoulder, a smile across a table, carries a current you can feel. Motion, outside or inside, is energy crossing the bridge from maybe to yes. A bird lifts off, and sunlight saved in fruit becomes wing beats. A dancer turns, and breath, food, muscle, memory braid into grace that looks like defiance of gravity, but is really cooperation with it. A thought jumps a synapse and changes a day. Without energy, the world is a photograph. With it, the photograph breathes. Philosophers have leaned on this idea for centuries. A vital breath animating matter, a flow that never begins and never ends, only trades costumes. In this sense, energy is a cousin of time, never held in place, always moving forward by changing shape. The laughter of childhood becomes the steadiness of age. A star's light becomes the iron in blood, and the chalk in bone. A flame becomes a room's comfort, then the room's background memory. Permanence is a dream we entertain for a moment. The poetry lives in transformation. Even stillness is not empty. A resting heartbeat is cadence. A quiet inhale is exchange. Drowsy thoughts slide into dreams and still leave tiny wakes. Sleep is not the absence of energy, but its rearrangement, a nightly pause that lets repair step into the light and bustle step back. In deep calm, you can sense a background hum, something older than worry, kinder than hurry, a rhythm that outlasts the noise above it. Energy's charm lies in this dual nature. It is precise enough to count in joules and calories. It is soft enough to explain why kindness warms a room. It flickers as a filament and spreads as a mood. It gives stars their shine and people their idioms. We feel drained when the body is low and the spirit follows. We feel charged when possibility crowds in. Both uses are honest. One speaks physics, the other speaks life. Step back to wider scales, and the story repeats in grander letters. Stars burn, galaxies turn, black holes feed and hiss, everything exchanges, transforms, and moves. Step into the smallest rooms, and the same logic writes your day. A meal becomes attention, a walk becomes ease, a conversation becomes a little warmth that lingers after the door closes. Whether the canvas is a spiral galaxy or a kitchen table, the principle holds, energy flows, and in the flowing, life happens. Unity hides in variety, fireflies stitching light into a summer field, waves returning their strength to sand, a sentence arriving like a spark that changes a plan. These are siblings, not strangers. The body is sunlight reshelved. The mind is an electrical weather pattern that learned to think. The heart is a metronome humming in warm water and salt. Every nod, every laugh, every breath spends a coin minted in a star. Continuity comforts. A flame goes out. Its heat does not vanish. It diffuses. A life ends. The energy that kept it steady returns to air and soil and story. The forms change. The current continues. If the universe is headed for perfect balance, that end may be closer to peace than grief. Until then, meaning is where flows still stand out against the background. A star throws light. A planet holds an ocean. A hand holds another hand. We borrow from the stream for a while and return what we cannot keep. The borrowing is the blessing. Through all our chapters, energy keeps reintroducing itself with new names. It entered our evenings as fire, feeding bodies and stories. It filled fields as harvest, sunlight stacked in granaries to carry communities through winter. It fueled engines with ancient light, lifting bridges and trains while leaving markers on sky and sea that asked us to be wiser. It learned to travel as current, obedient and versatile, willing to be lamp or motor or voice, so long as the wires were kind. Now it invites a gentler partnership, living on income instead of inheritance, catching today's light and wind instead of spending yesterday's forest and sea. The plot is continuous. Gather, guide, share, and rest. Language has been faithful to this plot. We call courage strong, trust solid, joy radiant. We speak of vibes because human bodies are good at reading each other's rhythms, even when our explanations lag. We light candles to hold vigil because a small, steady flame summarizes our hope better than a paragraph can. Festivals of light return each year to remind us that brightness can be invited and shared. Inside us, the accounting remains tender and exact. Metabolism tracks deposits and withdrawals without complaint. Muscles spend lavishly to climb a hill and then give way to the sweet thrift of stillness. The brain keeps its expensive theater running because awareness allows everything else. Sleep audits the day and writes off what cannot be carried forward. When we eat, move, think, or rest with care, we honor the accountants who keep our ledgers solvable. Life itself learned these habits through long conversations with scarcity and opportunity. Necks lengthened to reach more leaves, wings thinned to win more air, hands freed to make fire and carry baskets, communities formed to stretch what one person could not. Survival has always favored good budgeting. Spend where it matters, store when you can, avoid ruinous costs. The same rule holds for cities and civilizations. Fields and turbines, wires and waterworks, libraries and clinics, all are ways of guiding energy into patterns that keep a people warm, fed, curious, and kind. The cosmos keeps the deepest books. Stars are banks, supernovae are generous wills, galaxies are markets that prevent themselves from burning out. Black holes are paradoxical vaults that slowly pay back what they hold. The second law watches, not as a judge, but as a principle. Every act of order spends a little sharpness into the common air. Some night far beyond the reach of any name, the account will balance in stillness. But that knowledge does not sour the present, it sweetens it. Lights are lovelier because they are temporary. A good day is most itself because it ends. True wealth, stripped of decorations, is energy guided well. Calories that become care, watts that become light and learning, sunlight that becomes shade, fruit, laughter. Money is a map for these exchanges. The exchanges are the world. When we steward energy with attention, less waste, more sharing, softer footprints, we give the future a room that is easier to live in. The grid doesn't need applause to do its work, but gratitude helps us remember what pours through it. Comfort for elders in winter, cold for medicines in summer, clean water lifted, a message delivered on a hard day, right when it was needed. There is also the wealth that can't be billed, but can be felt. The way a room grows warmer when a friend arrives, the way music turns an ordinary hour into something you want to keep, the way quiet can restore you without explaining how. These are energy stories, two patterns of breath and nerve and attention that line up until a group moves as one and the sum exceeds the parts. If this sounds like a hymn, that may be because energy asks for our best voices. It holds science and poetry in the same palm, letting each describe what the other cannot. Meters will tell you how much. Metaphors will tell you why it matters. Together they make a picture you can live by. You are a link in a long chain of exchanges, and your choices help decide whether the current nourishes or depletes, brightens or blinds. Pause for a moment and inventory the flows around you. Somewhere, turbines are turning. Somewhere, panels are dozing after a day's work. Somewhere, a reservoir waits to fall through steel. Somewhere, a patient in a night clinic is lit by a small, reliable lamp. Somewhere, a socket is feeding a book into a speaker so a pair of eyes can rest. In your own chest, the metronome is steady. Air enters, warmth returns. A little energy, minted long ago in a star, is becoming this sentence, this breath, this ease in your shoulders. Nothing fundamental is lost. Even the quiet that comes at the end is a kind of kindness, a promise that all the scattered coins find their way to a smooth table. Between now and that distant evening stretches a generous middle. There will be more mornings with soft windows, more meals that turn into conversation, more work done with care, more rest that feels like repair. There will be nights when the sky is clear enough to make you feel both small and perfectly placed, and mornings when a sunbeam on the floor is explanation enough. Let this settle the mind. You are part of a circulation that began before there were names, and you will return what you borrow without leaving the current poorer. Spend on what gives warmth and meaning. Save in ways that keep tomorrow gentle. Share where you can, because shared energy multiplies comfort. Keep a small light for the hours that ask for patience. The story that carried us from embers to engines to wires to wind carries you, too. It has worn many costumes and kept one truth. Energy is the universe's honest bookkeeper and its softest music, the physics that holds stars up and the feeling that keeps people close. To recognize this is to feel the old anxiety loosen and something calmer take its place. You are inside the flow, not apart from it. The current knows its way. So breathe. Let the room dim to a color that invites rest. Let the last thoughts move like slow fish, and the body learn its evening wait. Somewhere, a turbine turns. Somewhere, a candle goes out and leaves the air a little warmer. Somewhere, a star adds another second of light to the long account. Here, a heartbeat writes one more line and then another. And now, the story keeps going, with less to say and more to feel like a tide that withdraws, without hurry, leaving the shore smooth, the air kind, the world quietly lit by its own soft memory.